the village of Umudike moved to the rhythm of the earth. Its festivals, rituals, and seasons, all tied to the invisible thread of the gods' favor and ancestral wisdom. At the center of this sacred order stood Obika, custodian of the Ikenga shrine. Deeply rooted in tradition, a high priest of the land and keeper of the sacred shrine. Tall, with eyes like deep wells of history, Obika embodied everything the people revered. It was he who led the festival of the Ikenga. He who spoke to the gods through fire and smoke. And he who held the staff of his ancestors with pride and reverence. For generations, Obika's lineage had upheld the customs that gave Umudike its identity. But in his son, Nana, a different spirit stirred. Nana had grown up, watching his father lead ceremonies with solemn grace. Had listened to tales by the fireside about gods, spirits, and the heroic ancestors of old. But as he grew older, so did his curiosity. His eyes turned toward the coast, where traders brought stories of other lands, other gods, and new ways of life. He would often sit beneath the Iroko tree with travelers, men who wore strange clothes and spoke of one great god, of distant cities filled with light, and of futures unbound by the past. Obika warned him many times. To know the world is not to forget where you come from. Be careful, Nana, lest you drink so deeply from foreign pots that you forget the taste of our water. But Nana was not satisfied with caution. He asked questions others dared not. If the gods are angry, why do they not speak clearly? Why must fear guide us? Shouldn't love, truth, and understanding be stronger than ritual? His father would shun him every time he says this, but he wouldn't stop. Against his father's orders, he continued spending time with traders and travelers from the coast. And his exposure to these new beliefs deepens. One evening, as the villagers gathered around to prepare for the coming festival, Nana stood before them and sought permission to speak. Fathers, the world is changing, yet we refuse to see it. Why must we always live in fear of the gods? Why must we cling to ways that no longer serves us? Like a drowning man grips a log. The elders murmured in disapproval, and Obika's face darkened with anger. You speak like a child who has eaten the food of strangers and forgotten the taste of his mother's soup. Like a child who has forgotten the stories of his ancestors. It is these ways that have kept our people strong. To abandon them is to invite chaos. Obika thundered. The world beyond our borders grows, Father. Not all change is decay. Must we shun the future to honor the past? Word of the confrontation spread like wildfire. In days, the village found itself split. Elders and warriors rallied behind Obika, while youth and women, long burdened by rigid customs, began to resonate with Nana's vision. The very soul of Umudike trembled. The festival, once a time of unity, became a battlefield of whispered arguments and broken friendships. Tensions reached their peak when Nana refused to offer sacrifices at the shrine. A group of villagers, inspired by his belief, refused to also take part in the annual festival of the ancestors. An act that had never before happened in Umudike. Then came the omens. The days that followed were filled with uncertainty. Crops began to fail, and farmers returned home with empty baskets. Children started to fall ill mysteriously and died. It seems the spirit of death visits at night, striking a child each day, and leaving the family in grief and the village in fear. Storms battered the outskirts of the village. They returned, like a shadow stretching across the land. Many blamed Nana, saying his defiance had angered the gods. Some wanted him banished. Others saw this as proof that their traditions no longer held power. "This is the price of rebellion," the elders cried. "A sacrilege that has brought the wrath of the gods." The villagers demanded that Obika take action. Torn between duty and love for his son, Obika declared, "If the gods want him punished, let them strike him down." The village gasped. A father's heart had stayed the priest's hand. The silence of the gods grew louder. Wars and rumors of war have hardly broken, but the village is already in shambles. Days passed. Some whispered of exile. Others plotted vengeance. Families stopped sharing meals. Children asked why friends no longer played together. The village was cracking. Realizing the village was on the verge of collapse, Nana made a bold decision. "I will not let our people destroy themselves over this," he said. "There is wisdom in our past, and there is wisdom in the future. Why must we choose one over the other?" He gathered both elders and youths, warriors and women, and stood once more under the sacred tree. "We are bleeding," he said, his voice softer now. "I never ask you to destroy what you hold dear. I only ask that we look beyond our fear. There is wisdom in our past, and there is wisdom in the future. Must we choose only one? Can we not build a path where both may walk?" It was a bitter compromise for Obika. His pride warred with his love, his duty with his hope. But at last, he laid down his staff and walked to his son. "Perhaps," he said, eyes misted, "you have not forgotten our soup. You are only asking that we season it anew." Tears filled many eyes. Old rivalries melted in the firelight. The village, once on the verge of ruin, began to heal. As the drums of division and war quieted in Umudike, laughter returned for the first time in weeks. Both believers of the ways of the old and new united and shared love. The festival was celebrated, not in defiance of change, nor as a rejection of the past, but as a bridge between both. Songs of ancestors mingled with poems of tomorrow. Children danced with elders, and the shrine stood, not as a place of fear, but of reflection. Both father and son knew they would never fully agree, but they learned to honor one another's truths, the world would never remain the same. And perhaps, just perhaps, it did not have to be torn apart to move forward. If hearts remained open, the soul of a people could endure. Not by clinging to the past or rushing to the future, but by walking together into the unknown.